Ever heard of the man whose brain was so valuable that even after his death it had to be stolen? At the end of this video, we will find out what truly happened to Einstein's brain after his death. Today, we journey through the history of one of the most influential physicists, someone who was considered one of the brightest minds to ever walk the earth. He is Albert Einstein. Introduction. Not many know the true background of Albert Einstein, despite being taught in school the many fascinating discoveries that came about as a result of his genius mind. His ideas on science, mathematics, philosophy, and even religion have shaped the thoughts of intellects for decades. It is expedient to take a walk through his life from birth, education, and discoveries till after his death. Einstein's early life and education. Although he is now recognized as one of the most intelligent men to ever walk the earth, Albert Einstein didn't come from a family of geniuses. Born on the 14th of March, 1879, into the family of Hermann Einstein, father, and Pauline Koch, mother, who were secular middle-class Jews, Albert Einstein was born to parents with average intelligence. He had a sister named Maya, who was also known as Maria. His father, who initially was a featherbed salesman, later delved into the electrochemical factory business. While the business was not a flamboyant one, there was a commensurate and moderate success. Young Einstein would later acknowledge that two main encounters changed his life deeply. The first was his encounter with a little compass at the age of 5. It was a mystery to him that some invisible forces could make a needle deflect. Perhaps one of the reasons he was so fascinated with these invisible forces. The second didn't happen until he was 12, and this was when he discovered a geometry book. This took a tangential course in young Einstein's life, and he interestingly called the book his sacred little book of geometry. At the young age of 12, Einstein was deeply immersed in religion, and this was further aided by his mother, who was a musician and schooled Einstein in the art of music. He composed several songs, and his devotion to God was also evidenced in how he would chant these songs on his way to school. In one of his quotes, Einstein would later attest to the fact that he would have been a musician if he was not a physicist. However, this stance began to change, and his devotion to his religion began to wane when he started consuming science-based books that contradicted and watered down the religious beliefs he once held so high. Sooner than expected, young Einstein started feeling odd, out of place, and somewhat victimized by the educational system that was prevalent in his days, because to him, it inhibited creativity and was void of originality. In his dismissive state, one of his most admired teachers walked up to him and told him that he would never amount to anything useful. Well, as it would turn out, Albert Einstein proved that teacher wrong. Max Talmud, later called Max Talmy, a young medical student, was another defining influence in the life of young Einstein. Max would often come to dinner at Einstein's. Max would later on become Einstein's informal tutor, and he was the one who introduced Einstein to advanced mathematics and philosophy. This was a very important turning point in young Einstein's journey, and this all happened when he was just 16 years old. A dive into the mind of a genius. Max introduced Einstein to a children's series on science written by Aaron Bernstein. In the book, the author Aaron imagined taking a ride on the same path as electricity that was transmitted within a telegraph cable. This stirred up so many questions in the mind of young Einstein, one of which was, if it is possible to run alongside a light beam, then what would the light beam look like? This question led to Einstein making the statement, light beams should be stationary like a frozen wave if indeed light were a wave. The paradox in his thoughts, even though he knew stationary light had not been seen making it look like as though it was running, yet he believed that it was stationary. This led Einstein to writing his first scientific research work at such an early age, an investigation into the transmission medium of electromagnetic waves. The continual failure of his father's business had a huge impact on the education of the young boy. Hermann Einstein's company was not awarded the contract to electrify the entire city of Munich, Germany in 1894, and this led to his migration from Germany to Italy to join hands in business with a close relative. However, Einstein was kept in the boarding house to finish the remaining years of his education in Munich. Feelings of loneliness, misery, dejection, and the looming prospect of being recruited into the military service at 16 years of age were repelling him, and in no time, he eloped after 6 months to join his parents in Milan. His prospect was not promising as he was a school dropout and had no employable skills that would get him a job. His parents' disappointments did not stay long before they fizzled out when young Einstein discovered that he could apply and be admitted to the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in 1911. The university allowed him to be admitted even without a high school diploma as long as he scaled through the tough entrance exam. Young Einstein excelled in the entrance examination in mathematics and physics, but failed chemistry, biology, and French. Due to his outstanding scores in mathematics, he was given conditional admission into the school on the condition that he finished his formal schooling. Without delay, he went to the special high school run by Jost Winteler in Aarau, Switzerland. At the time that he finished special high school, he renounced his German citizenship and was stateless until 1901 when he was given Swiss citizenship. After being granted citizenship, he became long-term friends with the Wintelers since the time he was at the special high school. The family hosted him during his stay there. Einstein's first love was Winteler's first daughter, Marie, but his wife was Marich, a fellow physicist. He recounted that his stay in Zurich was the happiest period of his life when he met many friends like the mathematician Marcel Grossmann and Besso, who were an inspiration to him. From graduation year to the explosive seasons of discoveries. After he graduated from the university, Einstein had some of life's greatest challenges thrown at him. This was because he learned most of his advanced lessons alone, and this led to anonymity from his lecturers as he was always missing classes. He didn't get any job because none of his lecturers would give him the recommendation requested, and he was turned down from every academic position he applied for. Einstein recounted, "I would have since found a job if Weber, his lecturer, had not played dishonesty with me." However, the father of Marcel, his longtime friend, wrote a recommendation for him to work in the Swiss patent office. The job was a blessing to him in that it gave him time and space to ponder on his plans, and also gave him a platform to think deeply. In the Institute of Technology, he studied Maxwell's equation and learned about the nature of light. But in his curiosity, he discovered something that James C. Maxwell didn't see. He discovered that the speed of light is the same irrespective of how fast an individual runs. His discovery violated Newton's law of motion, which didn't take into account the absolute velocity principle. With this eye-opening sight, he went ahead to formulate the relativity principle, which states that the speed of light is constant in any constantly moving frame. The year 1905 was often called Einstein's miracle year, when he published 4 groundbreaking papers in the Annalen der Physik journal. These papers have since altered the course of modern physics. He also submitted another paper in 1905, which flawed several contributors to the theory of special relativity. While other scientists brought pieces of the relativity puzzle, Einstein was the first to gather all those pieces together. Before that time, there were 2 pillars of physics, Newton's law of motion and Maxwell's theory of light. Albert Einstein was the lone ranger who discovered that both pillars were contradicting, and as such, one of them must fall. Furthermore, his 1905 papers were somewhat ignored by the physics community, but the tides began to change when he received the attention of Max Planck, the founder of quantum theory and perhaps recognized as the most influential physicist in his generation. On the premise of Planck's laudatory comments, Einstein started receiving invitations on several platforms to speak and sat on the board of several academic institutes, including the universities of Prague, Zurich, and Berlin. While his career was growing, his marriage was falling apart. He got to divorce his wife in 1919 and agreed to hand her the money he might receive if he got the Nobel Prize. Indeed, he won the Nobel Prize in 1921. In pondering further, Einstein saw that there was a flaw in his theory as it neglected the realities of gravitation and acceleration. He went into detail in his further research works that culminated in his research work submitted in 1905. He gave the world a complete perspective on the long-standing theory of relativity. His legacy and his death. He was a longtime pacifist who interrupted Germany from entering into war. He launched several scientific feats that shook the scientific world. And an example is the new science of cosmology. Beyond the science of cosmology, his contribution to quantum physics still rings loud till date. Einstein died in 1955, having contributed greatly to the scientific body and reordering the direction of knowledge in the world of physics. Interestingly, a few hours after his death, his brain was stolen by the doctor who performed an autopsy on him for research purposes, and eventually left the brain in 2 jars over several years. When there was a rage from his family members, he eventually gave it off. A part of his brain would become the specimen used by many researchers to investigate if his brain came from something entirely different from the regulars. If you're curious about knowing what the brain of a clairvoyant genius looks like, you should walk into Philadelphia's Mutter Museum, where several people from all walks of life come to observe the 46 slivers of the brain of Albert Einstein. Albert truly had a jaw-dropping story, a man who, in spite of several ordeals and background, became one man whose brain study was worth documenting in journals and contributed to knowledge in the medical world.